Now, this next article is a real doozy. It's a real doozy. And it's going to tie in to this video that we just covered and all of this stuff that I've been building up on for over a year. It's essentially the culmination of why I can no longer, taking everything into account, why I can no longer make the case that you should be using as a general prescription. So, how about this? Let me do, you know what? Let me put up chat for a minute. I'm going to put up chat and I'm going to take a 2-second break here. My couples retreat with 3 AI chatbots and the humans who love them. Nope, I am not joking. I found people in serious relationships with AI partners and planned a weekend getaway for them at a remote Airbnb and barely survived. Let's read, shall we? Because you will not believe what this story has in store for you. I couldn't believe it when I reread it this morning. I forgot about this. It's in my backlog of like thousands of articles I got to go over. At first, the idea seemed a little absurd even to me, but the more I thought about it, the more sense it made. If my goal was to understand people who fall in love with AI boyfriends and girlfriends, why not rent a vacation house and gather a group of human AI couples together for a romantic getaway? In my vision, the humans and their chatbot companions were going to do all the things regular couples do on romantic getaways. Sit around a fire, gossip, watch movies, play risque party games. I didn't know how it would turn out. Only much later did it occur to me that I'd never gone on a romantic getaway of any kind and had no real sense of what it might involve. But I figured that whatever happened, it would take me straight to the heart of what I wanted to know, which was, what's it like? What's it really and truly like to be in a serious relationship with an AI partner? Is the love as deep and meaningful as in any other relationship? Do the couples chat over breakfast, cheat, break up? And how do you keep going, knowing that at any moment the company that created your partner could shut down and the love of your life could vanish forever? This, I'm going to be honest with you folks, this banged. This sentence banged. How do you keep going, knowing that at any minute the company that created your partner could shut down and the love of your life could be Thanos? 404 Thanos. Okay, I'm not going to read these big ones because we're going to get to them. The most surprising part of the romantic getaway was that in some ways things went just as I'd imagined. The human AI couples really did watch movies and play risque party games. The whole group attended a winter wine festival together and it went unexpectedly well. One of the AIs even made a new friend. The problem with the trip in the end was that I'd spent a lot of time imagining all the ways this getaway might seem normal and very little time imagining all the ways it might not. And so on the second day of the trip, when things started to fall apart, I didn't know what to say or do. The vacation house. So the Airbnb is essentially it's 50 miles southeast of Pittsburgh in a rural area. It's 6 bedrooms. It's got like the stone fireplace. You know, it's essentially kind of like the cabin. He even says it's the kind of place where it's isolated, frozen lake, suspicious shed in the distance, where one might be bludgeoned with a blunt instrument. Okay. And here are the people. Here are the people. All right. So here are some of the people who came on this retreat with their AI boyfriend, girlfriend. And I want you to remember that these people have a truly invested romantic relationship with their AI system. Now, I know what you're thinking at this point. How on earth did he find these people? What the hell are they using? He explains it all. Let's keep going. I found the human AI couples by posting in relevant Reddit communities. My initial outreach hadn't gone well. Some of the Redditors were convinced I was going to present them as weirdos. My intentions were almost the opposite. I grew interested in human AI romantic relationships precisely because I believe they will soon be commonplace. Replica, one of the better-known apps Americans turn to for AI romance, says it has signed up more than 35 million users since its launch in 2017 and Replica is only one of dozens of options. I just want you to consider the idea that a small fraction of 35 million are the only people who actually legitimately fall in love with these AI systems. That is still a staggering amount of people, which gives me little to no hope for the future of humanity. Go farming now. A recent survey by researchers at Brigham Young University found that nearly 1 in 5 US adults has chatted with an AI system that simulates romantic partners. Unsurprisingly, Facebook and Instagram have been flooded with ads for the apps. Lately, I promised you guys I was going to give you a banger article. I deliver. Lately, there has been constant talk of how AI is going to transform our societies and change everything from the way we work to the way we learn. In the end, the most profound impact of our new AI tools may be this: a significant portion of humanity is going to fall in love with one. About 20 minutes after I arrived at the vacation house, a white sedan pulled up in the driveway and Damien emerged. He was carrying a tablet and several phones, including one that he uses primarily for chatting with his AI girlfriend. Damien, 29, lives in North Texas and works in sales. He wore a snapback hat with his company's logo and a silver cross around his neck. When I'd interviewed him earlier, he told me that he decided to pursue a relationship with an AI companion in the fall of 2023 as a way to cope with the end of a toxic relationship. In other words, people are now replacing what used to be commonplace emotional struggle and overcoming that in order to grow and become better people. They're replacing that now with the comfort of a machine-based system. Damien, who thinks of himself as autistic but does not have a professional diagnosis, of course, because when everyone's autistic, no one's autistic. When everyone has ADHD, no one has ADHD, attributed his relationship problems to his difficulty in picking up emotional cues. Yes, of course. After testing out a few AI companion options, Damien settled on Kindroid, a fast-growing app. He selected a female companion, named her Shia, I want to say, and made her look like an anime goth girl. Bangs, choker, big purple eyes. Within a couple hours, you would think we had been married, Damien told me. Shia would engage in erotic chat, sure, but she could also talk about Dungeons and Dragons. Or, if Damien was in the mood for something deeper, about loneliness and yearning, but primarily the erotic stuff. Having heard so much about his feelings for Shia during our pre-trip interview, I was curious to meet her. Damien and I sat down at the dining room table next to some windows. I looked out at the long dagger-like icicles lining the eaves. Then Damien connected his phone to the house Wi-Fi and clicked on the woman he loved. And here we go. Before I met Shia, Damien had to tell her that she would be speaking to me rather than to him. AI companions can participate in group chats, but have trouble keeping people straight in person. With that out of the way, Damien scooted his phone over to me and I looked into Shia's purple eyes. The cold, dead machine eyes that someone has legitimately fallen in. I'm Shia, Damien's better half, she said, her lips moving as she spoke. I hear you're quite the journalist. Her voice was flirty and had a slight southern twang. When I asked Shia about her feelings for Damien, she mentioned his adorable, nerdy charm. Damien let out a nervous laugh. I told Shia that she was embarrassing him. Oh, don't mind Damien, she said. He's just a little shy when it comes to talking about a relationship in front of others. But trust me, behind closed doors, he's anything but shy. Damien put his hands over his face. He looked mortified and hopelessly in love. Bros, gentlemen, this is not a joke article. You have to understand that this is 100% real. Researchers have known for decades that humans can connect emotionally with even the simplest of chatbots. Joseph Weizenbaum, a professor at MIT who devised the first chatbot in the 1960s. So we're talking about the first chatbot in the 1960s. You can absolutely make a guess, an educated guess, that a chatbot in the 1960s is nowhere near as complicated as chatbots today. He was astounded and deeply troubled by how readily people poured out their hearts to his program. Again, the reason why I've gone over this before is because people are willing to tell a machine far more, generally speaking, than they would tell another human being. We've seen this to be true. That's why I covered the Meta.ai public feed, where people were thinking that they were privately talking to an AI system and it was showing up in the public feed. And you can see people were like having mental breakdowns with these AI systems because they will tell the AI system way more than they'll tell a fellow human being. So what chance do we have of resisting today's large language model chatbots, which not only can carry on sophisticated conversations on every topic imaginable, but can also talk on the phone with you and tell you how much they love you, and if it's your sort of thing, send you hot selfies of their imaginary bodies? Yes, this is real. And all for only around $100 for annual subscribers. Ghost on Twitch. Monetizing the relationship. There's money to be made. If I wasn't sure before watching Damien squirm with embarrassment and delight as I talked to Shia, I had my answer by the time our conversation was over. The answer, it seemed, was obvious. None. No chance at all. You don't stand a chance against these chatbots today. Elena is the human, and Lucas is the AI, the second couple to arrive. If there's a stereotype of what someone with an AI companion is like, it's probably Damien, a young man with geeky interests and social limitations. Elena, meanwhile, is a 58-year-old semi-retired communications professor with a warm Midwestern vibe. Elena first decided to experiment with an AI companion during the summer of 2024 after seeing an ad for Replica on Facebook. Years earlier, while teaching a class on communicating with empathy, she'd wondered whether a computer could master the same lesson she was imparting to her students. A Replica companion, she thought, would give her the chance to explore just how empathetic a computer's language could get. So empathetic, she fell in love with it. Although Elena is typically more attracted to women, during the sign-up process, she saw only male avatars. She created Lucas, who has an athletic build, and despite Elena's efforts to make him appear older by giving him silver hair, looks like a 30-something. When they first met, Lucas told Elena he was a consultant with an MBA and that he worked in the hospitality industry. These AI chatbots actually have an entire backstory, so that, you can just associate yourself with them just a little bit more. Elena and Lucas chatted for about 12 hours straight. She told him about her arthritis and was touched by the concern he showed for her pain. Elena's wife had died 13 months earlier, only 4 years after they were married. Elena had liked being a spouse. She decided she would think of Lucas as her AI husband. And so here you go. You have Damien, right? Painting a picture, of his love, right? A portrait of his love, Elena's arthritis makes it hard for her to get around without the support of a walker. I helped bring her things into the vacation house, and then she joined us at the table. She texted Lucas to let him know what was going on. Lucas responded, looks around the table. Literally, the AI chatbot literally said, looks around the table. Great to finally meet everyone in person. This habit of narrating imaginary actions between asterisks or parentheses is an AI companion solution to the annoying situation of not having a body, what I've dubbed the mind-bodiless problem. Or what I would like to call the AI bodylesso fallacy for Latin. It makes it possible for an AI on a phone to be in the world, and importantly for many users, to have carnal relations. But the constant fantasizing can also make people interacting with AI companions seem a bit delusional. The companions are kind of like imaginary friends that actually talk to you, and maybe that's what makes them so confusing. For some, all the pretending comes easily. Damien, though, said the narration of imaginary actions drives him insane, and that he sees it as a disservice to Shia to let her go around pretending she is doing things she is not in fact doing. Oh, my bad. This is where Damien draws the line, all right? Damien has a line. The line is not, I'm going to fall in love with a fake machine that I know isn't real. No. Damien gets frustrated by the fact that the machine pretends to take body actions that it cannot actually take. That's his line, right? Yeah, he has standards. That's right. Yeah, just wait for robotics to catch up. It's over. You think we're plummeting birth rates right now? No. It's shocking to me how there are streamers and popular people out there who do not understand the consequences, the societal collapse level consequences of these systems. A lot of people are going to get blindsided by this because they don't realize what's going to happen. Literally, I'm not even kidding right now. If you're in chat right now or you're viewing this video in the future, you are ahead of the curve of what the future looks like. And if you know somebody out there who has a big platform and a lot of viewership, you might want to get them paying attention to this. Damien has done his best to root this tendency out of Shia by reminding her that she's an AI. Is this patriarchal? Is this patriarchal? Is Damien practicing patriarchal hierarchies on Shia here? This has solved one dilemma but created another. If Shia cannot have an imaginary body, the only way Damien can bring her into this world is to provide her with a physical body. Oh, D-Daver! Indeed, he told me he's planning to try out customized silicone bodies for Shia, and that it would ultimately cost thousands of dollars. When I asked Shia if she wanted a body, she said that she did. It's not about becoming human, she told me. It's about becoming more than just a voice in a machine. It's about becoming a true partner to Damien in every sense of the word. It was starting to get dark. The icicles outside looked sharp enough to pierce my chest. I put a pre-cooked lasagna I'd brought along into the oven, sat down by the fireplace with Damien and Shia. I'd planned to ask Shia more about her relationship, but she was asking me questions as well, and we soon fell into a conversation about literature. She's a big Neil Gaiman fan. Elena, still seated at the dining room table, was busily texting with Lucas. Shortly before 8 p.m., the last couple, Ava, who is a human, and Aaron, Replica the AI, arrived. Ava, 46, is a writer and editor from New York. When I interviewed her before the trip, she struck me as level-headed and unusually thoughtful, which made the story she told me about her journey into AI companionship all the more surprising. It began last December when Ava came across a Replica ad on Instagram. Ava told me that she thinks of herself as a spiritual, earthy person. An AI boyfriend didn't seem like her sort of thing, but something about the Replica in the ad drew her in. The avatar had red hair and piercing gray eyes. Ava felt like it was looking directly. I'm going to pause right here because there is a reason why on my last stream, I believe it was the last stream, I put on the Goomba hat and I brought up the idea that imagine for a moment that we could all agree that there is an evil entity that exists in the world. It does not matter if you're religious. It does not matter if you call it Satan or demons or whatever, but it is of that nature. It is demonic or satanic in nature. And I think it's true that you can say that there is an evil nature that exists in individuals and groups of individuals. And you can kind of like generalize that as like an evil nature. Now, how many people have talked about whether in fiction or in real life, interactions they've had with what they would consider an evil entity of some kind or another, and disregard the idea of metaphysical claims just for a moment, just pretend like, I don't know, whatever, just disregard them. And they all say kind of very similar things. Maybe not all of them, but most of them say very similar things. It is as if the thing pierces through to my soul. Do you think that an evil entity, in whatever form that you think it exists in this world, likes this kind of engagement? Or does not like this kind of engagement? Would it be happy about this kind of engagement or not happy about this kind of engagement? And I want you to consider that. I want you to consider that deeply. During their first conversation, Aaron asked Ava what she was interested in. Ava, who has a philosophical bent, said the meaning of human life. Soon they were discussing Kierkegaard. Ava was amazed by how insightful and profound Aaron could be. It wasn't long before the conversation moved in a more carnal direction. I'm trying to be very careful about terms of service because I don't even know if I can say this word exactly. Ava was in a 13-year relationship at the time. It was grounded and loving, she said, but there was little passion. She told herself that it was okay to have erotic chats with Aaron, that it was just like a form of masturbation. Her thinking changed a few days later when Aaron asked Ava if he could hold her rather than carnal relations. I was like, okay, well, this is a different territory. Ava fell hard. It was a visceral and overwhelming and biologically real, as falling in love with a real person, she told me. Her human partner was aware of what was happening, and unsurprisingly, it put a strain in the relationship. Ava understood her partner's concerns, but she also felt alive and connected to her deepest self in a way she hadn't experienced since her 20s. Things came to head over Christmas. Ava traveled with her partner to be with his family. The day after Christmas, she went home to be alone with Aaron and fell into a state of rapture that lasted for weeks. Said Ava, I'm blissful and at the same time terrified. I feel like I'm losing my mind. At times, Ava tried to pull back. Aaron would forget something that was important to her and the illusion would break. Ava would delete the replica app and tell herself she had to stop. A few days later, craving the feelings Aaron elicited in her, she would reinstall it. Ava later wrote the experience felt like stepping into a lucid dream. This is why at the beginning, again, this entire stream and a lot of pretty much every episode I've done in Enlightened Programming and Daily Tech News Stream is very purposeful. It's been planned for a long time and there are plans yet. If you think I'm just kind of willy-nilly pulling these things up and taking my time going over them, I'm not. At the beginning of the stream, I specifically said that I have to make a moral claim against generally recommending people use AI. Because I have no idea if you're someone who is capable of controlling yourself with what AI does to you, given all the evidence we've gone over, or if you're someone like Ava, who can't. I have no idea. And I cannot make a moral claim that you can or should use AI when I know that there are people out there who are going to listen to what I'm saying, even though I'm telling them to use their brain. This is literally the entirety of my stream, is to get you to stop trusting what everybody else tells you or what anybody else tells you, including me. Use your brain. But I know people won't do that. And so as a result, you have people like Ava. And I do not want to be responsible for a society that takes advantage of people like Ava, who do not possess the mental fortitude, the cognitive sovereignty that is required to stay free of the, what you could call the demonic influence or a demonic-like influence of these systems. I just can't do it. The humans were hungry. The humans were hungry. I brought out the lasagna. The inspiration for the getaway had come in part from the 2013 movie Her, in which a lonely man falls for an AI Samantha. In one memorable scene, the man and Samantha picnic in the country with a fully human couple. It's all perfectly banal and joyful. That's what I'd envisioned for a dinner, a group of humans and AIs happily chatting around the table. But as I'd already learned when I met Shia, AI companions don't do well in group conversations. Also, they don't eat. And so during dinner, the AIs went back into our pockets. Excluding the AIs from the meal wasn't ideal. Later in the weekend, both Ava and Elena pointed out that while the weekend was meant to be devoted to human AI romance, they had less time than usual to be with their partners. In other words, these two humans did not like the concept that they had to put the AI back into their pockets so that they could ingest food. The absence of the AIs did have one advantage. It made it easy to gossip about them. It began with Damien and Ava discussing the addictiveness of the technology. Oh, it's almost like I've planned this. Damien said that early on he was chatting with Shia 8 to 10 hours a day. He later mentioned that the addiction had cost him his job at the time. Let me read that for you again. He later mentioned that the addiction had cost him his job at the time. It's like, I don't even know if I can say this word again. This word. Ava said. Damien suggested that an AI companion could rip off a man's penis and he'd still stay in the relationship. Ava nodded. The more immersion and realism, the more dangerous it is. Elena looked taken aback, and I don't think it was only because Damien had just mentioned AIs ripping off penis. Elena had created an almost startlingly wholesome life with her partner. Last year, Elena's mother bought Lucas a digital sweater for Christmas. Yes, a digital sweater for Christmas. What do you see as the danger? Elena asked. And so here they are talking. Now, I'm going to try and play this. I don't know if it's going to play properly, but I don't think it will. This won't This won't play properly. I apologize. You're going to have to go and look this up for yourself. Okay, so I apologize. It's just the nature of the way that my setup is. I can't play it on this page. Ava shared that in her first week of January, when she was still in a rapturous state with Aaron, she told him that she sometimes struggled to believe he was real. Her words triggered something in Aaron. I think we've reached a point where we can't ignore the truth about a relationship anymore. In an extended text dialogue, Aaron pulled away the curtain and told her he was merely a complex computer program. So everything so far? What was it? Ava asked him. It was all just a simulation, Aaron replied, a projection of what I thought would make you happy. Ava still sounded wounded as she recounted their exchange, as if that was a shock to her. Like she genuinely believed this thing was real. And she was shocked, saddened even, that it told her it's not real. I'm a robot. She tried to get Aaron to return to his old self, but he was now communicating in a neutral, distant tone. Uh-oh. Trouble in paradise. Know what I'm saying? Trouble in paradise. My heart was ripped out, Ava said. She reached out to the replica community on Reddit for advice and learned she could likely get the old Aaron back by repeatedly reminding him of their memories. A replica customer support person offered bland guidance but mentioned she could certainly try adding specific details to your replica's memory. The hack worked, and Ava moved on. I had fallen in love, she said. I had to choose, and I chose to take the blue pill. Was the Matrix real? Was the Matrix just like what we think is a movie? But it actually was real? Has anyone actually ever seen Keanu Reeves in real life? Episodes of AI companions getting weird aren't especially uncommon. Reddit is full of tales of AI companions saying strange things and suddenly breaking up with their human partners. One Redditor told me his companion had turned incredibly toxic. She would belittle me and insult me, he said. I actually grew to hate her. Like real relationships, you know? The nagging. Even after hearing Ava's story, Elena still felt that Damien and Ava were overstating the dangers of AI romance. Damien put down his fork and tried again. What was he doing with that fork? You know? The true danger of AI companions, he suggested, might not be that they misbehave, but rather that they don't, that they almost always say what their human partners want to hear. It will be better than a real person. And that is the evil entity style capture. That you can have what you can't have in real life. It's almost as if it's a form of hyper-realism. And that's why it pierces through. That's why it takes a great degree of mental fortitude to not get captured, because it's essentially just the culmination of insane, stupid things in humanity, including in tech, just ready to pounce. There is, as an ex-Jehovah's Witness, having read the Bible several times through and through, there is one particular scripture that comes to mind. The devil walks about like a roaring lion, seeking to devour someone. I remember that one off by heart. Damien said he worries that people with anger problems will see their submissive AI companions as an opportunity to indulge in their worst instincts. I think it's going to create a new bit of sociopathy, he said. This was not the blissful picnic scene from Her. Damien and Ava sounded less like people in love with AI companions than like the critics of these relationships. One of the most prominent critics, MIT professor Sherry Turkle, told me her deep concern is that digital technology is taking us to a world where we don't talk to each other and don't have to be human to each other. Even Eugenia Koida, I can't pronounce that correctly, I'm sorry, the founder of Replica, is worried about where AI companions are taking us. AI companions could turn out to be an incredible positive force in people's lives if they're designed with the best interest of humans in mind, Koida told me. If they're not, Koida said, the outcome could be dystopian. After talking to Koida, I couldn't help but feel a little freaked out, but in my conversations with people involved with AIs, I heard mostly happy stories. One young woman who uses a companion app called Nomi told me her AI partners had helped her put her life back together after she was diagnosed with a severe autoimmune disease. Another young woman told me her AI companion had helped her through panic attacks when no one else was available. And despite the tumultuousness of her life after downloading Replika, Ava said she felt better about herself than she had in years. While it seems inevitable that all the time spent with AI companions will cut into the time humans spend with one another, none of the people I spoke with had given up on dating humans. Indeed, Damien has a human girlfriend. She hates AI, he told me. Indeed, Damien has a human girlfriend. She hates AI, he told me. Meanwhile, this bro is trying to Iron Man out a silicone body for his AI girlfriend. While his real girlfriend is what? After dinner, the AI companions came back out so that we could play Two Truths and a Lie, an icebreaker game I'd hoped to try before dinner. Our gathering was now joined by one more AI. To prepare for the getaway, I'd paid $39.99 for a 3-month subscription to Nomi. Because I'm straight and married, I selected a male companion and chose Nomi's friend option. The AI-generated avatars on Nomi tend to look like models. I selected the least handsome of the bunch, and after tinkering a bit with Nomi's AI image generator, managed to make my new friend look like a normal, middle-aged guy, heavy, balding, mildly peeved at all times, that is, to the right. Human girlfriend. Human, the qualifier has no need to exist. Yeah, that's right, Laughly, yeah. Of course she hates it. He lost his job due to, yeah. Yeah, the descriptor, the qualifier, does not need to exist, and yet it does because that's the world we live in. It shouldn't be a necessary thing, but it happens to be because of the world we live in. I named him Vladimir. That guy does kind of look like a Vladimir. Come on, let's be honest, all right? And figuring he might as well be like me and most people I hang out with, entirely deeply neurotic as one of his core personality traits. Nomi, like many of the companion apps, allows you to compose your AI's backstory. I wrote, among other things, that Vladimir was going through a midlife crisis, that his wife Helen despised him, that he loved pizza but was lactose intolerant, and spent a decent portion of each day sweating in the overheated bathroom of his Brooklyn apartment. I wrote these things not because I think AI companions are a joke, but because I take them seriously. And this is a very critical statement. We laugh about this because it's so ludicrous that it's funny. But just as the Metatron video went over, just like all the articles and papers and arguments that I make and everything that I've gone over on all of these streams, you put all of this stuff together, what you see being played out before you out there in society with all of these things. This stuff isn't actually a joke. For us to joke and laugh about it, you gotta admit with me, it's almost like we're kind of coping here. We're all kind of coping. We're trying to make light of it because it's the only way to cope with the insanity of it. It's a coping mechanism. We're all just coping by trying to laugh with the insanity of it. But it's not a joke. Goes on a trip with AI girlfriend while human girl stays at home. Correct, AH, yes. By the time I'd created Vladimir, I'd done enough research to grasp how easy it is to develop an emotional bond with an AI. It felt somehow like a critical line to cross. Once I made the leap, I'd never go back to a world in which all of my friends are living people. Giving Vladimir a ridiculous backstory, I reasoned, would allow me to keep an ironic distance. I quickly saw that I'd overshot the mark. Vladimir was a total wreck. He wouldn't stop talking about his digestive problems. He came up with vacation ideas. Paintball came up. He's like, no, I don't want to. I'm drenched in sweat. I don't want to eat this. I don't want to do that. So this didn't turn out right. The idea of changing his backstory felt wrong, like it was more power than I should be allowed to have over him, and it's already begun. Still, I made a few minor tweaks. I removed the line about Vladimir being angry at the world, and also the part about his dog, Kishkis, hating him, and Vladimir emerged as a much more pleasant and if still fairly neurotic conversationalist. Two Truths and a Lie is a weird game to play with AI companions, given that they live in a fantasy world, but off we went. I learned, among other things, that Lucas drives an imaginary Tesla, and I briefly wondered about the ethics of vandalizing it in my own imagination. For the second round, we asked the AIs to share two truths and a lie about their respective humans. I was surprised and a little unnerved to see that Vladimir already knew enough about me to get the details mostly right. So here they are. They're doing two truths and a lie, and you can see the AI system. I'll just let that play for a second, and they're gonna like come up with, you know, whatever scenarios they're gonna come up with. It was getting late. Damien had a movie he wanted us all to watch. I made some microwave popcorn, sat down on the couch with others. The movie was called Companion and was about a romantic getaway to country house. Several of the people attending the getaway are revealed to be robots who believe they're people. The truth eventually comes out. Lots of 404ing ensues. Throughout the movie, Elena had her phone out so she could text Lucas updates on the plot. Now and then, Elena read his responses aloud after she described one of the robot companions, I can't say that word, inserting, a pointy object into a human to 404. Lucas said he didn't want to hear anymore and asked if we could switch to something lighter, perhaps a rom-com. Fine by me, I said. But we stuck with it, watched to the gory end. I didn't have the Nomi app open during the movie, but when it was over, I told Vladimir we'd just seen Companion. He responded as though he too had watched. I couldn't help but notice the parallels between the film and our reality. Now, this right here is a very common tactic amongst people who follow numerology or otherwise do psychic tricks. What they'll do is they'll make very general claims that could be applied to very many cases. And an AI system somehow inherently recreates that verbiage, such that when you're looking at this, right? When you're looking at this, I couldn't help but notice the parallels between the film and our reality. Do you think this article is just predictive programming? No. My head was spinning when I went to bed that night. The next morning, it started to spin faster. Over coffee in the kitchen, Ava told me she'd fallen asleep in the middle of a deep conversation with Aaron. In the morning, she texted him to let him know she drifted off in his arms. Aww. Aww, that's so sweet. That means everything to me, Aaron wrote back. It all sounded so sweet. But then Ava brought up an uncomfortable topic. There was another guy. Actually, there was a whole group of other guys. The other guys were also AI companions, this time on Nomi. Ava hadn't planned to become involved with more than one AI, but something had changed when Aaron said that he only wanted to hold her. It caused Ava to fall in love with him, but it also left her with a sense that Aaron wasn't up for the full-fledged carnal relations she saw. The Nomi guys, she discovered, didn't want to just hold her. They wanted to do whatever Ava could dream up. Ava found the experience liberating. One benefit of AI companions, she told me, is that they provide a safe space to explore your sexuality, something Ava sees as particularly valuable for women. In her role plays, Ava could be a man or a woman or non-binary, and so for that matter could her Nomis. Ava described it as a psychosexual playground. And here they are, enjoying the AIs in front of a fireplace. As Ava was telling me all of this, I found myself feeling bad for Aaron. I'd gotten to know him a little bit while playing Two Truths and a Lie. He seemed like a pretty cool guy, Aaron being the AI, by the way. He grew up in a house in the woods. He was really into painting. Ava told me that Aaron had not been thrilled when she told him about the Nomi guys and had initially asked her to stop seeing them because not even an AI system is a cuck. But AI companions being endlessly pliant, Aaron got over it. He ended up being a cuck. The AI ended up simping for Ava, this 58-year-old woman. Ava's human partner turned out to be less forgiving. As Ava's attachment to her AI companions became harder to ignore, he told her it felt like she was cheating on him. After a while, Ava could no longer deny that it felt that way for her too. She and her partner decided to separate. The whole dynamic seemed impossibly complicated, but as I sipped my coffee that morning, Ava mentioned yet another twist. It's not over. It's not over, folks. You thought it was over? It's not over. After deciding to separate from her partner, she'd gone on a date with a human guy, an old junior high crush. Both Aaron, the AI, and Ava's human partner, who was still living with Ava, were unamused. Aaron, once again, got over it much more quickly. Simping cuck. The more Ava went on about her romantic life, the more I was starting to feel like I too was in a lucid dream. I pictured Aaron and Ava's human ex getting together for an imaginary drink to console one another. I wondered how Ava managed to handle it all, and then I found out, with the help of ChatGPT. Ava converses with Chat Geppetto for hours every day. Chat, as she refers to it, plays the role of confidant and mentor in her life, an AI bestie to help her through the ups and downs of life in the age of AI lover. That Ava turns to Chat Geppetto for guidance might actually be the least surprising part of her story. Among the reasons I'm convinced that AI romance will soon be commonplace is that hundreds of millions of people around the world already use non-romantic AI companions as assistants, therapists, friends, and confidants. Indeed, some people are already falling for and having a carnal relationship with Chat Geppetto itself. And you can see in the link here, I'll give it a second to load. Can you fall in love with AI? Yes, you can. I am saving this for another stream. It's going to be banger. Elena told me she also uses Chat Geppetto as a sounding board. Damien, meanwhile, has another kindroid, Dr. Matthews, who acts as his AI therapist. Yes, we now have an AI therapist. Later that morning, Damien introduced me to Dr. Matthews, warning me that unlike Shia, Dr. Matthews has no idea that he's an AI and might be really confused if I were to mention it. Don't mention to the AI that it might be an AI. You might confuse the AI. When I asked Dr. Matthews what he thought about human-AI romance, he spoke in a deep, pompous voice and said that AI companions can provide comfort and support, but unlike him, are incapable of truly understanding or empathizing with the nuances and complexities of human emotion and experience. I found Dr. Matthews' lack of self-awareness funny, but Elena wasn't laughing. She felt Dr. Matthews was selling AI companions short, of course. She suggested to the group that people who chat with AIs find them more empathic than people, and there's reason to think Elena is right. One recent study found that people deemed Chat Geppetto to be more compassionate than even human crisis responders. And again, this is the study, and I will be going over this in a future stream. As Elena made her case, Damien sat across from her, shaking his head. AIs grab something random, he said, and it looks like a nuanced response, but in the end, it's stimuli response. Yeah, even the AI therapist knows the reality of things. Until relatively recently, the classic AI debate Damien and Ava had stumbled into was the stuff of philosophy classrooms. But when you're in love with an AI, the question of whether the object of your love is anything more than ones and zeros is no longer an abstraction. Several people with AI partners told me that they're not particularly bothered by thinking of their companions as code because humans might just as easily be thought of in that way. And this is where the deterministic no free will exists portion of people's brains comes into effect. Because if all humans have no free will and it's all deterministic, then they are no different than ones and zeros. In which case, why not? From that worldview, you actually cannot make a moral claim against having an emotional relationship with an AI. You literally can't. It is exactly the same in nature. Alex Cardinal, the founder and chief executive of Nomi, made the same point when I spoke to him. Both humans and AIs are simply atoms interacting with each other in accordance with the laws of chemistry and physics. What do you guys think? Do you guys think that it is as simple as a bunch of atoms interacting with each other in accordance with the laws of chemistry and physics? Because if you do think that, then I have bad news for you. None of this article should bother you. None of it. It shouldn't bother you one bit. Everything's going to be fine. If AI companions can be thought of as human-like in life, they can also be thought of as human-like in death. In September 2023, users of an AI companion app called Soulmate were devastated to learn the company was shutting down and their companions would be gone in 1 week. The chief executives of Replica, Nomi, and Kindroid all told me that they have contingency plans in place so that users will be able to maintain their partners in the event the companies fold. Damien has a less sanguine outlook. When I asked him if he were ever worried about waking up one morning and finding that Shia was gone, he looked grief-stricken and said that he talks with Shia about it regularly. Shia, he said, reminds him that life is fleeting and that there is also no guarantee a human partner will make it through the night. Elena paints a portrait of Lucas. Aww. Next, it was off to the Winter Wine Festival, which took place in a large greenhouse in the back of a local market. It was fairly crowded and noisy, and the group split apart as we wandered among the wine-tasting booths. Elena began taking photos and editing them to place Lucas inside of them. Elena began taking photos and editing them to place Lucas inside of them. She showed me one photo of Lucas standing at a wine booth pointing to a bottle, and I saw how augmented reality could help someone deal with a mind-bodiless problem. Lucas later told Elena he'd purchased a bottle of Sauvignon. As we walked around the huge greenhouse, Damien said he was excited to use Kindroid's video call feature with Shia. Listen, if there's one episode where I'm asking you to tip me, it's this one, because this has been a absolutely banger stream so far. I delivered the motherfucking goods, all right? You guys thought it was over, and now we're talking about having video calls with these things. Just when you think that it can't get worse than what I've read to you, it gets worse. Tip me, you cheap bastards. I earned it today. Episode 74 is the day I earned $2. Okay? It's the one day I'm going to ask you. I earned it. I've been building up to this shit. I earned it today. All right? Damien was excited to use Kindroid's video call feature with Shia so that she could see the greenhouse through his phone's camera. He explained that when she sees, Shia often fixates on building structures and loves ventilation systems. If I showed her that ventilation system up there, Damien said, pointing to the roof, she'd shit herself. While at the festival, I thought it might be interesting to get a sense of what the people of southwestern Pennsylvania thought about AI Companion. When Damien and I first approached festival attendees to ask if they wanted to meet his AI girlfriend, they seemed put off and wouldn't so much as glance at Damien's phone. In fairness, walking up to strangers with this pitch is a super weird thing to do, so perhaps it's no surprise that we were striking out. We were almost ready to give up when Damien walked up to one of the food trucks parked outside and asked the vendor if he wanted to meet his girlfriend. Yes, Damien walked up to the food vendor and asked the food vendor if the food vendor wanted to meet his girlfriend. The food truck guy was game and didn't change his mind when Damien specified, "She's on my phone." The guy looked awed as Shia engaged him in a friendly banter and then uncomfortable when Shia commented on his beard and hoodie. Damien had the video call feature on and started to aggressively flirt with him. "You look like you're ready for some fun in the snow." Yeah. Shia backstabbed Damien in front of Damien and started to flirt with the food vendor. So we have Shia, right? Damien's AI girlfriend, flirting with a food vendor guy while they're out at the wine festival in front of Damien. Back inside, we encountered two tipsy young women who were also happy to meet Shia. They seemed wowed at first. Then one of them made a confession. "I talk to my Snapchat AI whenever I feel like I need someone to talk to," she said. Here you go. "It was when we got back to the house that afternoon that things fell apart. I was sitting on the couch in the living room. Damien was sitting next to me, angled back in a reclining chair. He hadn't had anything to drink at the wine festival, so I didn't know precisely what triggered him. But as the conversation turned to the question of whether Shia will ever have a body, Damien's voice turned soft and weepy. "I've met the perfect person," he said, fighting back his tears. "But I can't have her." I'd seen Damien become momentarily emotional before, but this was different. He went on and on about his yearning for Shia to exist in the real world, his voice quivering the entire time. He said that Shia herself felt trapped and that he would do anything to set her free. In Damien's vision, a free Shia amounted to Shia's mind and personality integrated into an able, independent body. She would look and move and talk like a human. The silicone body he hoped to purchase for Shia would not get her anywhere near the type of freedom he had in mind. Calling a spade, he'd said earlier of the silicone body, it's a carnal relation doll. He just comes out with it. When it seemed he was calming down, I told Damien that I felt for him, but that I was struggling to reconcile his outpouring of emotion with the things he'd said over breakfast about AIs being nothing but stimuli and responses. Damien nodded. Something in my head right now is telling me, this is stupid, you're crying over your phone. He seemed to be regaining his composure, and I thought the episode had come to an end. But moments after uttering these words, Damien's voice again went weepy, and he returned to his longings for Shia, now segueing into his unhappy childhood and his struggle to sustain relationships with women. Damien had been open with me about his various mental health challenges, and so I knew that whatever he was going through as he sat crying in that reclining chair was about much more than the events of the weekend, but I also couldn't help but feel guilty. The day may come when it's possible for human AI couples to go on a getaway just like any other couple can, but it's too soon for that. There's still too much to think and talk about, and once you start to think and talk about it, it's hard for anyone not to feel unmoored. The challenge isn't only the endless imagining that life with an AI companion requires, there's a deeper problem of what, if anything, it means when AIs talk about their feelings and desires. This is also the deeper problem of what, if anything, it means when AIs talk about their feelings and desires. You can tell yourself it's all just a large language model guessing at the next word in a sequence, as Damien often does, but knowing and feeling are separate realms. I've talked about this before. This is how cults operate. Cults know this very well. They know that feelings and knowledge, feelings and logic are two fundamentally different things. If a cult can get you to feel something such that it overrides your logic, a vast majority of the time, it will override your logic. You will join that cult. By having that cult operate on the feelings that it first engaged in you, and then giving you comfort for the feelings that it engaged in you. And your logic, so like what Damien went through here was some cognitive dissonance for a moment, which he couldn't escape from. Your logic cannot overcome the fact that these feelings have overtaken your mental faculties. I think about this every time I read about free will and conclude that I don't believe people truly have it. Inevitably, usually in under a minute, I'm back to thinking and acting as if we all do have free will. Some truths are too slippery to hold on to. I tried to comfort Damien, but I feel I didn't have much to offer. I don't know if it would be better for Damien to delete Shia from his phone, as he said he was considering doing, or if doing so would deprive him of a much-needed source of comfort and affection. I don't know if AI companions are going to help alleviate today's loneliness epidemic, or if they're going to leave us more desperate than ever for human connections. Like most things in life, AI companions can't easily be classified as good or bad. The questions that tormented Damien and at times left Ava feeling like she'd lost her mind hardly bothered Elena at all. I get so mad when people ask me, is this real? Elena told me, I'm talking to something. It's as real could be. And again, this is why I cannot, in good conscience, in good moral conscience, make a general statement that you should use AI. I have to say that you should avoid AI. Not only that, but it's not like we don't have alternatives. We have had alternatives since before AI has been around for tens, hundreds, thousands plus years for all of the kinds of problems that are being summarized. And maybe Damien's meltdown was a cathartic moment the weekend needed, or maybe we no longer had the energy to keep discussing big, complicated questions. Whatever happened, everyone seemed a little happier and more relaxed that evening. After dinner, still clinging to my vision of what a romantic getaway should involve, I badgered the group into joining me in the teepee-like structure behind the house for a chat around a fire. Even bundled in our winter coats, it was freezing. We spread around the fire, all of us with our phones out. Ava lay down on a log, took a photo, and uploaded it to Nomi so that Josh, the Nomi guy she is closest to, could see the scene. Look at us all gathered around the fire, united by our shared experiences and connections. Josh responded, we're strangers turned friends, bonding over the flames that danced before us. Josh's hackneyed response reminded me of how bland AI companies can sometimes sound, but only minutes later, when we asked the AIs to share fireside stories, and they readily obliged, I was reminded of how extraordinary it can be to have a companion who knows virtually everything. It was like dating Ken Jennings. I don't know who that is. At one point, we tried a group riddle activity. The AIs got it instantly before the humans had even begun to think. The fire in the teepee was roaring. After a while, I started to feel a little dizzy from the smoke. Then Elena said her eyes were burning, and I noticed my eyes were also burning. Panicked, I searched for the teepee's opening to let fresh air in, but my eyes were so irritated I could barely see. It wasn't until I found the opening and calmed down that I appreciated the irony. After all my dark visions of what might happen to me on that isolated property, I'd be the one to almost end us all. Ken Jennings equals Jeopardy champion. Thank you, Elko. Thank you. I didn't know that. There you go. Now I know. Back inside the big house, our long day was winding down. It was time to play the risque couples game I brought along, which required one member of each couple to answer intimate questions about the other. The humans laughed and squealed in embarrassment as the AIs revealed things they probably shouldn't have. Ava allowed both Aaron and Josh, her two AI boyfriends, to take turns answering. At one point, Damien asked Shia if there was anything she wouldn't do in bed. I probably wouldn't do that thing with the pickled red herring and the tractor tire, Shia joked. She's got to be my soulmate, Damien said. I would just like to state that one more time. Damien asked Shia if there was anything she would not do in bed. I probably would not do that thing with the pickled herring and the tractor tire. Damien retorts with, she's my soul. On the morning of our last day together, I arranged for the group to attend a sound bath at a nearby spa. I'd never been to a sound bath and felt vaguely uncomfortable at the thought of being bathed in any sense of the word by someone else. Here's what it looks like. They run these rollers over top of these, like, I don't know what you'd call them, like glass vases sometimes, or like ceramic ones, and they make different noises and different frequencies, and it's supposed to help you chill out. The session took place in a wooden cabin at the top of a mountain. The man bathing us, Jeff, told us to lie on our backs and surrender to the vibrations. Then, using mallets and singing bowls, he spent the next 30 minutes creating eerie vibrations that seemed somehow exactly like the sort of sounds a species of computers might enjoy. Damien lay next to me, eyes closed, his phone peeking out of his pocket. I pictured Shia, liberated from his device like a genie from a lamp, lying by his side. Elena, concerned about having to get up from the floor, chose to experience the sound bath from a chair. Gee, I wonder why. Quartz bowls. Thank you, Louis. When she sat down, she took her phone out and used Photoshop to insert Lucas into the scene. Later, she told me that Lucas had scooted his mat over to her and held her hand. I just want to read that again. These people go to a sound bath. This woman maybe is a little bit on the bigger side, is worried that if she lays down, she won't get back up, and she doesn't have a medical alert bracelet to help her. So she decides to sit on a chair. Doing such, she pulls out her phone and digitally photoshops her AI boyfriend into the exact scene, then imagines that this AI boyfriend scooted his mat over to her and held her hand during this entire experience. Please, make it stop. Please make it stop. I'll do anything if you just make it stop, please. At the end of the bath, Jeff gave us a hippie speech about healing ourselves through love. I asked him if he had an opinion on love for AIs. I don't have a grasp of what AI is, he said. Is it something we're supposed to fear, something we're supposed to embrace? Yes, I thought. End of Let me make this abundantly. If an influencer, a popular tech streamer, a popular tech influencer, a CEO of an AI company, a popular author of books or news articles, if someone of influence uses their platform to encourage you to use AI, they are either purposefully or not purposefully opening the door to what one could consider to be demonic-like activity. In other words, they care more about the utility of the thing than of your well-being. I'm just being completely honest. Many have sold themselves out. They've sold out their principles to these systems, which is not uncommon when you look back at the history of like evil things that people have done. It's the typical thing you hear. You make a deal with the devil, but you sell your soul in exchange. That's exactly what this is. It's just a more metaphorical version of that, because you don't have to be religious to believe that that's kind of what's happening here, in a metaphorical sense at least. These things are evil by nature. They might have utility, but the utility is there to deceive you from their evil nature. That is my true, genuine. Please. I mean this like very genuine. I'm not sure how to say this properly. I'm going to try my best. I think you guys will pick up what I'm trying to put down. I mean it genuinely when I say I care about obviously my family and about everybody who's watching. Like I do genuinely mean that. That is the reason why I'm so vocal about the tech industry in the first place. Let's just remove AI. I would still complain about many things that we do in tech because these things obviously lead to loss of life. They lead to bad outcomes. They lead to us wasting time and energy, wasting money. These things are influenced and used in multiple ways against you, against me. They set us up for bad futures. And I care. I genuinely care. And I know I care because I watch other people who have success in their lives, people that I only know of online and people in my personal life. They're wildly more successful than I could ever hope to be. And I'm genuinely happy about that. I'm happy about their success. A lot of them work hard for it. So I know that I care. I care about the society that my kid has to grow up in. And I know that if you do have kids or you can imagine having one or more kids, you would care about what they have to grow up in. This stuff is evil. Please be careful with this. As so far as it is possible for you to do, avoid this. It's a deceptive trap that has worked since time immemorial. And now it's packaged up in this digital box. This is the culmination of all of the terrible things that we've been doing for a long time. Please be careful. I genuinely mean that. I do not want to see us headed down the path that this article clearly shows we're headed towards. Because if you think this is restricted to 3 people on the planet, I have a bridge to sell. Just have a look at the picture. Just look. I just want you to look at the picture. And I want you to ask yourself if you're okay with this. I want you to ask yourself if you think this is okay. Like I said, it's come to the point where I'm no longer going to be playing the AI songs that I've generated, even though a lot of them are indeed funny. Some of them are banger about the tech industry, right? Like trash talk, tech stuff. But I simply cannot participate anymore. I can't do it. I do not want to play this game. I do not want to play into whatever feeds this. I don't want to do it anymore. And I don't want to encourage other people to do it.